everybody, today we're going to be making a garden fork. I'm sick of buying ones that break and bending you, and so I want to make a really good one. And the material I'm going to be using, of course, is wrought iron. The way it's going to be made, it's going to be a better quality one, and one that will last. So stick around. So here's a piece of a wrought iron wheel band that I've cut off, and this is going to be the main body of the fork. And then here now I've just kind of drawn a bit of a plan. So I'm going to put in a round fuller into this section here, and I'm going to set down and forge out these ends. So the whole lot's just going to be forge welded together. So there's going to be 2 clef welds, 2 scarf welds and a lap weld. So I always like to stick down a few centre punch marks, so when I bring the piece out of the fire I know exactly where I need to be setting down. Right, so I'm going to use a fuller here. It's a 30mm round bar, and I'm going to set down right in the very centre of the piece. And a fuller is essentially a tool that's used to isolate material. Right, so once I'm happy with the fullered section now and the material starts to cool down, I can see the centre punch marks nice and easy on both sides. So what I'm going to do is set down right on the edge of those, and so when I bring them out of the fire next at a good bright heat, I'm not wasting any time and I can go straight for it. So what I'm doing now is I'm forging out a section of the prongs that's going to be on either side of the fork. And once I have these 2 sections forged out now, I'm going to fire weld on the rest of the prongs on either end. And I don't have to forge them too thin because I'm going to be fire welding them on, and so I can allow for a loss of material by leaving them heavy, and I can forge it down to a nicer size when I need to. And I'll repeat this process now on both sides. Right, so once I'm happy with all that now, I can lock it into a leg vise and come in then with a fuller. Basically what the fuller is going to do is going to give me more material to work with and gives the prongs a bit more distinction of where they're going to be. Right, so moving on, I'm just going to taper down that fullered section to about 8mm, lock it in the leg vise and start chiseling down the centre of it. So if my maths are correct, I should have about 4mm on either side. I didn't want to come down any less than that because when I'm bringing this up to welding temperature, there's going to be a slight loss of material. And the reason that happens is because the oxygen in the fire likes to eat away at the metal. And especially with wrought iron, you tend to lose a lot more of it than you would with mild steel. Basically, it just gives me a better chance of having a good successful weld. Okay, so here I'm going to use my Farrier's rounding hammer, and I'm going to use the round section of it to fuller in a little bevel, and that's essentially going to be the scarf now for the next weld. And the reason you don't weld 2 flat pieces on together because they'll create a shear plane, and instead of joining seamlessly, what they'll do is they'll eat into each other and you'll have a very weak joint. Right, so here now on either end I'm just going to prepare a scarf for the welds. And they're going to be for the prongs on either end. So here I have this part done now. The 2 clef welds, 2 scarf welds and a lap weld. For the section here that's going to hold on the handle, I'm going to make it out of this off-cut of a wheel band. It was from a project that well, this was a piece that couldn't go on. So I'm going to fan out this part here and then wrap it around like that. Leave a bit of meat on the bottom of it and then forge weld it onto that section there. So. So the bottom tool there on the anvil is half round, so what that's going to do is going to push the material out either side, fanning it out as opposed to pushing it lengthways. This will push it out in the width. And it's just a case of heat, beat and repeat. Okay, so once I'm happy with that section now, I can go ahead and start turning it half round over the bick of the anvil. Whenever I'm rounding up a section like this, I'll always start at the bottom section of it and then work my way up to the end. And the reason I do this is because if I start at the end section where the material is thinnest, it'll cave in too easily and probably buckle on me. So when I start at the thick section there and forge that round, the rest of it will follow nice and easy. Right, so here now I'm just going to use a stake anvil and I'm just going to knock out any blemishes and anything I don't like about it, get it more round and then finish it off. Because I'm a blacksmith, I'm going to use a hardy hot cut tool here to cut off the excess material. Right, so here basically what I'm doing is shaping out the end of it there. I'm going to form a little scarf and then get it ready for the lap weld. Now you probably could just call this a scarf weld as well. To be honest with you, I just like to call it a lap weld. I think the techniques are so much different than a regular scarf weld. I like to distinguish the difference between the two for myself. Whenever doing a weld like this, you really need to get it with your first heat, otherwise you're going to lose a lot of material and all that work is going to be for nothing. And it can happen. So what I'm doing now is I'm tidying up all the welded sections. I want every point of it to be closed completely before moving on. Right, this section come off of a horse cart as well. It's wrought iron and you can see the grain running through it. Anyway, great to be using up the oil stock. So what I'm doing with that section is I'm forging out all the prongs for the fork. So once I've 4 of those done now, I'm going to forge out 2 clefts and 2 scarves and get them ready for the welding. So I want these clefts to sit in nice and snug, so I want to come in a bit deeper with the chisel now and then size them up. But I want to come in a bit deeper and make sure all the area is surrounded completely and that it won't be too thin when the 2 pieces are joined. Right, so I'm going to set this in here now at a lower temperature while there's no scale on the inside of it, and that's just going to hold it while I bring it up to welding temperature. And while it's at welding temperature now in the fire, I can gently tap it together, and that's actually going to weld it. So when I bring it out of the fire, I know it's not going to fall off, and I can just set it nice and easily. I suppose the other reason I wanted to make a fork like this was because I wanted to kind of challenge myself with the fire welds. I wanted to make something that was really kind of awkward and slightly complex to kind of keep the old skills guessing. Okay, so I'm going to repeat that now on the other prong. I can actually look through the fire there and see the piece, and I can make sure it's in the right position in the fire and make sure nothing's burning, and bring it up to a good welding temperature again, tap it together in the fire and set it on the anvil. Lovely stuff. So once I'm happy with both clef welds now, I can go ahead and scarf weld on the prongs for the sides. Right, so once I'm happy with everything now, it's time for the finishing touches. Just dress it up a bit, give the prongs a bit of a shape, and give the fork a bit of an angle. And there we have it, all fire welded together. And I got a bit excited here, so I stuck on a bit of a handle. I'm going to go out and start digging and put it to use. She works like a dream. So, hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching.